back here on Overtime on WOTM. Mark, let's talk a little college football. Alabama off last week, got a little bit of a bye. Auburn, meanwhile, got a big win against Ole Miss. Now they go on the road to the same place where Alabama lost its one and only football game in College Station against Texas A&M. We'll start with the Auburn Tigers. After that big win against Ole Miss, what are some of your thoughts as they now game plan for a really tough stadium, tough environment against number 14, Texas A&M?
One thing I think that you could say about Auburn is they've done a great job protecting Bo Nix. He's only have 8 sacks, which is the 4th best in the nation. They have 4 games where they haven't allowed any sacks. They're 4-0 all-time at Kyle Field, including winning 3 games over ranked opponents with Texas A&M. They were ranked, I think, 5th all the way back in 2013. So they've beaten good Texas A&M teams at Kyle Field. And the last time they started 3-0 in the SEC on the road was 2010.
Right.
So you're looking for them to do that. Can they stop the run? They've allowed over 215 yards per game, rushing yards per game, to Arkansas, Georgia State, and Georgia, along with Ole Miss as well. But Ole Miss, the leading rushing team in the SEC, only ran for 157.
Right.
So they've improved a little bit. But we're talking about a Texas A&M team that the last 2 games have averaged 285 rushing yards per game.
Wow, I mean, it's just it's insane what they've been able to do with this Auburn football team and with Bo Nix. Do you think that this is a team that has what it takes to win a big game like this? I know we said it last week, and they were able to get it done last week. Do you think this team's got a chance to do the exact same thing, given what we talked about, some of the things that they've been struggling with?
I'm going to make a prediction that they're going to have 1 loss in the SEC when they play Alabama.
Oh, wow. That'll be really, really interesting, and also would make for the Iron Bowl to be probably the game of the year in all of college football leading into that one. And so we'll have our official picks on all the games coming up in just a little bit here. We will move from the Auburn Tigers to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama rolling right now, and they played a game against Texas A&M that didn't have the luster going into the game that we thought it would have, and then Bama ended up getting beat. Same situation here. This is a game that doesn't have the same luster that it probably would have had, at the last year, maybe 2 years ago, even at the beginning of this year with a good LSU team. Do you expect Alabama to continue rolling, or do you maybe see some stumbling here from the Crimson Tide at home against LSU?
I think they'll continue to roll. LSU is awful on defense. They've allowed an average of 475 yards per game in their last 5 games, which have all been SEC games. Alabama's playing really well on offense. Bryce Young's got 26 touchdown passes his first 8 games, more than Tua and more than Mac. He's second to Mac in passing yards, more than Tua his first 8 games. He's also really good on third down, completing 70% of his passes. Alabama number 1 in third down conversion in college football because a lot of what Bryce Young does. I'd like to see him be able to run the ball a little more when it's there.
Right.
I think he doesn't do it because he may not want to get hurt, but I think it really does help Alabama's offense open it up a little bit. You see how well Bo Nix does that and how that opens up other things. I think if Young did that, that would even make the offense more dynamic. I don't think LSU could stop them at all. I think this is, a 28-point spread there. I think Alabama will cover that.
Exactly, and this huge spread, number 1. It's a big spread against Texas A&M when they lost that game, too. Of course, that game was on the road at Texas A&M. A quick kind of curveball at you. Bama was number 2, according to the pollsters from the College Football Playoff Committee. Were you surprised by that? Do you think that they earned that given what they've done so far on the field?
I think they've beaten some good teams. Obviously, when they beat Ole Miss was ranked in the top 13. They've beaten some teams that you would expect them to beat, but I don't know if they've deserved that yet.
Right.
I would say probably not. They've gotten that more on reputation than I think of overall play. They've been very good offensively, but defensively they've shown some holes.
Right.
They've looked dominant at times, but when you combine the fact that they don't really have that real marquee win, that win at Florida is becoming less and less impressive,
right,
and losing at Texas A&M, that to me doesn't deserve number 2 in the nation. They still have a little bit to go. They can get there,
right.
But again, they are looking at a possible matchup with Georgia, and by the way Auburn's playing, that's not guaranteed yet. So they still have some work to do, and they can answer a lot of those questions and solve a lot of those doubts, especially defensively, if they come out and dominate LSU. Dominate like Georgia has.
Right.
Where their defense is good enough to do that. You've seen where they'll shut down the offense for most of the game, but they'll have some 2 or 3 plays where they miscommunicate. That can't happen anymore. It's time for them to learn, get better, eliminate those mistakes, and roll with the rest of the year.
Exactly. We'll pick that game officially coming up in our next segment, but I agree with you. I think this is a chance for them to kind of put their foot on the gas pedal now that the committee's already put them in the number 2 spot. They can only go down. I think that they'll continue to do so and find themselves in the top 4 to end the year. Alabama head coach Nick Saban met the media a little bit earlier tonight and talked about some of the things that he wants to see mentally from his team as they get ready for the Bengal Tigers.
It's going to be a challenging game for us. It's always a tough physical game with these guys, so we definitely need to, challenge each other. I think that's one of the things that is important on any team, that you have the kind of leadership that challenges each other, and there's more than just 1 or 2 people that do that. And you challenge them so they do the right things, and it creates value for them. I don't care if it's off the field, on the field, in the classroom, and I think it's important that we influence and impact people in a positive way so that they have a better chance to be successful.
Meanwhile, some of the other teams we keep up with around the state of Alabama includes UAB. They have a home game against Louisiana Tech. Jacksonville State's also at home looking to bounce back after 2 straight losses. They'll face Abilene Christian at 1 o'clock. The Citadel comes to Sanford for homecoming. Meanwhile, the Auburn-Alabama game, the Auburn-Texas A&M game we talked about a second ago, as well as South Alabama and Troy, 2 teams in the state facing off against one another in Troy, 2:30. Troy's a 4-point favorite in that one, and Bama, as talked about, is a big favorite against LSU. Well, coming up next here on Overtime, we'll have our college football picks. Mark has been rolling. You'll see how he picks this week coming up next here on our program.